Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. My name is Luke and I am a nutritional consultant here in Grass Valley, California. Today I want to make a video on SB 277, also known as the mandatory vaccination law here in California. Okay? Now it's important to realize that I am anti-vaccine. Okay? That might be a shock to some of you. Many of you, probably not. Now, in this video, I'm not going to debate whether or not people should get vaccinated. Okay, I've made a video on the ingredients in vaccines, and at some point I will make a video on why I don't think people should be vaccinated. Okay, but for the sole purpose of this video, I'm going to talk about this law and how we can fight it. Okay, so first of all, I would like to say that hopefully we would hope that the courts would overturn it. Okay, that the courts would strike it down. But I don't think this is going to happen. The reasons why I don't think this will happen is because and it is my belief that the courts will probably rule that when the children are not vaccinated, they are obstructing the rights of the other children, because when they're not vaccinated, they're more of a risk, right? And so they are affecting the welfare of the other children by putting those children at risk, and that breaches their rights. Okay, that is what I imagine the court will rule. Although I don't agree with that ruling, okay, and I don't agree with the whole premise of it, obviously, but that is my belief what the courts will rule. Okay, so that means where do we go from here, right? Now we have a couple options. Okay, first couple options are obviously homeschool your children. Okay, now this is preferable in general, actually. You know, I would say homeschool your children. Don't put your children in the crazy school system that is here in California, okay? Where they're just going to brainwash your children, give them junk foods from the cafeteria, and they can be with all the toxic, depleted children who are all brainwashed themselves, okay? They can get bullied, they can go into an inadequate school system that doesn't prepare them for real life. The list goes on and on and on and on. And I would avoid the public school system, especially here in California, like the plague. That would be my recommendation. But for many people, especially the poor, that is not, just not doable, right? Mom's got to work, dad's got to work. You know, they got to put their kids somewhere, okay? So, that's the first one, homeschool. Second is move. Those are basically your two passive options, I would say. You know, passive in that you're not actively fighting the law. Okay, those are your two options. You either got to homeschool so you can avoid the whole vaccination thing, or you got to move to another state, which many people will do. Move to a freer state than California, where you can put your children in a public school without being forced to vaccinate your children. Okay? So, those are your two options, basically. But there is a third, and the third is fight, and that's basically where I'm at. Now, I'm a young guy. I don't have a family, right? I'm a young guy. I don't have a family. If I had a family, I might consider moving, especially because a lot of my business is online, and so it doesn't really matter too much where I live at this point. And I would also, I preferably would homeschool. If there was any way, I work from home mostly with my business, so I could even stay at home and homeschool my kids. I wouldn't mind that, right? I could do my nutrition stuff and, you know, do online work and homeschool my kids. Well, my wife could go work if she wanted to, you know, if that was necessary. You know, especially if she already had like a nice job, right? You know, I wouldn't mind doing that. So that'd be, you know, another option for me. But for many people, these aren't options, right? They can't move out of state. Maybe they don't have any family members, enough resources. They just don't want to move out of state, right? California is beautiful. It sucks that the government is so corrupt, but California is a beautiful place. This place that I live, Grass Valley, California, it's gorgeous. There's no other place, like, geographically that I'd want to live, right? Perfect climate, nice people, you know, so, fight. Okay, so, let's talk about fighting it. first thing that you are going to have to realize if you're watching this video and you are also anti this bill is that you are in the minority, okay? I am also in the minority. The majority of the public here in California, I think, supports the bill. It's a little bit unclear. It's hard because if you go on websites, right, and you read the comments, either everyone's for it, everyone's against it, depending on what website you're going to, because the people that obviously prefer vaccination are going to go to certain websites. People that are anti-vaccine are going to go get their information from other websites, and all those people are going to be commenting. So, I mean, a lot of people I talk to personally seem to be anti, especially here where I live, but it's more rural, right? I'm sure if I went to LA, there are a lot of parents that are for the bill, unfortunately. So I do believe we're in the minority, right? That doesn't mean that we don't have the truth on our side, and it's not our moral obligation, which because I believe it is, but we do have to realize that we probably are in the minority, okay? But just like the Constitution says, you know, the whims of the majority are not supposed to infringe upon the rights of the minority. And I would hope the court would rule that, but I don't have any faith in the courts at this point. You know, I would hope that the courts would rule that they're infringing upon the rights of the parents and they're forcing medical procedures upon the children. But like I said, I think they'll probably rule what I already talked about. So that's unfortunate, okay? So, we gotta fight. We're in the minority. What do? Well, we gotta organize, obviously, okay? Organize, organize, organize. Organize, organize, organize. I'm going to say this many, many times. That's the only way we'll win, especially if we're outnumbered. Okay, because you have to remember that in most battles, right, if you think of most wars, the most organized and most efficient army wins. Okay, they don't have to be, they don't have to have superior numbers. Okay, if you think of like the Spartans, you know, would be the most stereotypical one, I guess. But there's lots of battles, okay? So we have to organize, we have to come together as communities, we have to start talking to each other, we have to form roles, we have to form reasonable objectives, and we have to take action, okay? So what action do we take, right? Well, we got to organize. Now the referendum is an interesting one. That's an interesting option, right? Some people are arguing that if it gets struck down, that will put it'll obviously say the majority is for vaccines, and so the Supreme Court will be more likely to rule in their favor. Many people say, you know, it's our best bet at this point. What do you got to lose? And I tend to agree with what do we got to lose, people, because if you think about it logically, they're saying don't vote for it because if it gets struck down, then that obviously means the majority are for it. But the bill, I mean, the referendum is already in place. People, at least one person has already signed it, right? And so, if no one signs it, you know, if we all choose to go that route, and we all say, oh, that'll decrease our chances in court, so let's not sign it, but then it's going to fail anyway, right? Because it's already out there. So that argument, unless one of you in the comments wants to explain it better to me, doesn't make any logical sense to me. Because like I said, people have already signed it, it's already in action, and so if we don't sign it and it fails, that's the same thing as if we sign it and it fails. So we might as well try, right? It's not like it's gonna, I don't think it can just be like retracted, right? So I would say the referendum's our best bet right now, besides the courts, okay? But we can't really do anything about the courts. You know, ideally, you can't really put public pressure on the courts, right? That's how it's supposed to be. The courts are supposed to be like an island that make they're like the most wisest leaders of society, and then they make uniform decisions. Well, not necessarily uniform, but they make decisions for the best of society, right? It shouldn't matter public pressure, right? Because what's right is what's right. That's how the Supreme Court's supposed to function. But in today's day and age, especially, I think public pressure could help, definitely. Okay, so the referendum, organization, and then you know, there just has to be a public outcry. Okay, there has to be public outcry. You know, public pressure is what I would say. There has to be public pressure. We have to be out in the public. Some of this is already happening. There are certain health rallies. There was a health rally like a week ago in Huntington Beach. There are other ones. I do think the most effective one would be to actually concentrate on the capital, Sacramento, which is about an hour from where I live. I think that would be our best efforts. Instead of organizing, I mean, these health rallies do work, but really showing public pressure at the capital. Honestly, I feel like that's probably the most powerful one at this point. But to even get to that point, we have to organize, right? You have to organize the rallies. You have to come together. All the groups have to come together. The chiropractor, the California Chiropractors Association did a great job to try to fight this. You know, I would hope the more conservative organizations are on our side. I would hope the Tea Party is on our side. I would hope so. Okay. Many of you watching this might be liberals. Okay, you might be Democrat. Okay. Hopefully that can bring us together, right? Because I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, as long as you're helping me fight this bill, so that my clients don't call me worrying themselves to death. My family members aren't keeping themselves up crying at night because their children get terrible reactions to the vaccines and they can't get an exemption because it's being taken away from them. Okay, I don't really care, black, white. I don't care what race you are. I don't care how old you are, as long as you help me defeat the bill, right? Because that's where I'm at. So, in regards to that, you know, public pressure is going to be very important. Okay, but we have to organize. Okay, I think there has to be more face-to-face. You know, parents coming together in communities, talking to each other on what we can do, and because you know, a lot of the things, you know, we can go on Facebook and we can complain about it. We can post sites and we can argue with people on websites and in the comment section. We can argue with people. We argue with our family members. But when it comes down to it, there has to be really public meetings and pressure. Okay, I would prefer if we held community meetings. You know, where we talk to each other. We lay out actionable plans. Whether that be making T-shirts, staging protests, we need to be calling other organizations so that we can come together and all fight it. We have to move forward in that direction. Now, we still have time. Okay, the law doesn't go into effect till 2016. Okay, and many of you are able to homeschool or move. Okay, but if they take for many people, they're giving us no quarter. Okay, so we have to bite and claw and scratch if we're going to repeal this. Okay, so comment below. I'll also put a link to the Facebook group I created. It's Californians for Vaccine Choice, where you can talk to other people that are interested in the same cause. We might organize as a nonprofit at this point, so people can donate, and we can actually have a sort of organizational structure, so that we can have defined objectives and things like that. And hopefully we can ride the wave that's happening. There's a big emotional wave happening right now. You know, there's a public, you know, especially, you know, with the mothers and things like that, a public outcry. And there's a big, you know, it's kind of gone like this, right? We don't want it to peter out. We have to keep riding it, right? And we have to be channeling it into effective strategies. Okay? So I hope that helps you guys out. Comment below. Join the Facebook group. Okay? Do everything you can. Call your senators. We have to do whatever we can. We got to organize. Okay? Talk to you later.